Hello, my name is Nick Coleman. I'm from Literary Gladiators, and I'm here to discuss a book that I've read over my vacation. His name is Orson Scott Card, and the book is called Homebody. This is one of the covers, and not that. That is another cover that you can find. Now, Orson Scott Card became one of my favorite writers very quickly. He is a sci-fi writer. I never knew I was into sci-fi until I started reading him. And he's just very vague, very open, very straight to the point, and it's like, yeah, this is what's going on. And I really enjoyed that because I like metaphors, so constantly thinking I need a break. So just tell me what it is, boom, that's it. Now, this book was very interesting to me because I love the concept of it. Basically, this guy falls in love with a ghost. And over time, he winds up figuring out how she became a ghost and how he's falling in love with her. But Orson Scott Card's way of describing it was just so beautiful. It was just so, like I said, vague. It was just like at first it didn't come out and say like, oh, she's a ghost. But once you knew she was a ghost, it was like, all right, now he's trying to figure out how he can still be in a relationship with her without knowing it's a ghost. Like, but so the main character's name is Don Lark. Don Lark is probably middle-aged man, and he's just doing his thing to make money in modern day America. He had a wife and a child, a daughter, and both of them passed away in a car accident. And so he's now a widower. And his way to cope with the death was to buy houses, fix them up, and resell them. House flipper. And he does this multiple times in the book. Like, I think when you first start the book, he's selling a house, and then he goes and finds this other old house that's been for sale for years. And he buys this house, like old 1800s type style house, Victorian style. It's got the rotundas and all the windows. Like, it's a beautiful house, round porch. I would have loved it, and well, it was a beautiful house in my mind. But he goes into this house and starts fixing the downstairs and stuff, and he winds up finding a squatter, someone that goes into an abandoned building and stays there, squats. Now, at first, he was a little disappointed that the squatter was there because how is he going to sell a house that has an owner already? But he winds up talking to her and basically says, listen, when I'm working downstairs, you stay upstairs. When I'm working upstairs, you stay downstairs. And she was all right with that. He was all right with that. But she kept coming up behind him while he was working just to watch him. She just wanted to see what was going on. Typical little ghost wants to see what's going on. And he just starts finding signs like tools disappear, they appear in other places, and he's thinking it's this girl, Sylvia. And Sylvia keeps saying, oh no, it's not me, it's the house. Now, there's another one, a kid's book, Monster House, where the house basically gets cursed from a ghost, but in this case, it's cursed with somebody's energy that is still alive, which you find out near the end of the book. But he starts to yell at Sylvia all the time, trying to basically be like, you need to stop taking my tools and hiding them because I need to get this house done and sell it. You can't live here forever. And she just keeps going, oh, it's not me, it's the house, it's the house, it's the house. Like, how can a house take tools? But he winds up going down into the basement to fix, I think, like the water heater or something. I don't really remember because I read it months ago. But he finds, like, in basements you got the cement wall, but then there was bricks right next to, in like one of the corners. And he starts taking the bricks out, wants to see what's behind the bricks. And Sylvia pops up and says, oh, you shouldn't do that. He's like, well, why? There's a tunnel down there. well, if I'm going to be selling this house, I need to know, one, that there's a tunnel down there, and two, I need to close it properly. So he breaks down the wall and goes in and looks into the tunnel, walks down, and winds up, he first finds a body, which that I'm going to explain later. But he goes down all the way, and it goes to a ravine, like down into a cliff, kind of escaping stuff. So he comes up to this body, which is a very, very, very decayed body, and sees it wearing a cheerleading outfit. This is also the same outfit that the ghost Sylvia is wearing. So he does his research, and then throughout the whole book, the neighbors are two older ladies, and there's a third upstairs bedridden due to her weight. And they keep telling him, you need to leave the house alone. It's not worth rebuilding. It's not worth reselling. Just give up. And he's like, no, this is a beautiful house. I'm going to bring the beauty out of it and make it look good. So after that, he continues to build up the house, continues to do some research on the house, and finds that the house used to be a brothel. It used to be a boarding home, and used to be a college dorm room. And in the house, you can see all these fake walls that are put up, and he winds up tearing all those down so he could get the original house, the original beauty of the old architecture. And the women next door keep saying, you got to stop doing this, you got to stop doing this, the house is not happy. And he sees this pattern about the house having emotions. There's a characterizing, I think it is, where you take an inanimate object and give it human features. That's pretty much what everybody's doing with this house. So he finds the blueprints of the house, the original blueprints, and sees the tunnel. He sees different rooms that he's not really seen yet. So he's continuing to break down the house and rebuilding it to its beauty, and he winds up finding out that the person that killed Sylvia is still alive and never got caught for her actions. So he contacts her, which is not, I wouldn't contact a murderer, I'm sorry, I just wouldn't do it. But he contacts her, and she thinks it's phony. I don't remember her name. It started with a C, Kristen, whatever. Doesn't matter. But he tries to get her back to the house and basically says, listen, I know what you did back in the college dorms. You need to pay, well, not pay, but like you need to know that somebody else knows. So what he does is goes back over to the neighbor's house and goes to visit the person that's bedridden. And he goes up there, and very, very big woman, and he basically describes what's going on to her, and she's like, well, I already know this because the house is pretty much eating me away. Even though she was very heavy set, she's getting eaten away from the inside. So what is possibly going on is this person that is bedridden has the power and energy to basically protect the house even though it's getting eaten away. And the other two women used to be in the house when it was a brothel. And the bigger woman that's bedridden wound up going and rescuing them too. One's actually, I think, the sister or the cousin, and the other's just another person. So they rescue her, or them, and every time they moved farther away from the house, it would get worse, so they moved right next door. And they continued to protect the house and continued to just live the way it was. But this lady's still just losing energy, losing her mind pretty much. And Don winds up asking, hey, I know what happened in this house. Can I bring this person? And the lady that was bedridden pretty much said, well, if you bring her there, it's going to get super strong, and, well, energy-wise, it's going to get super strong, but it could help. Coffee. So she winds up coming to the house, and Don is like pretty much done with the renovations, and she comes to the house, and Sylvia, the squatter ghost, is slowly disappearing because the truth is out. And while the other girl, the girl that name starts with a C, comes to the house, and she says, I don't believe you that you know the truth. And then Sylvia pops up and says, well, here I am, the truth is out. And Sylvia winds up overtaking the other body. Now that she's in a physical body, the house winds up calming down. The lady next door winds up, she doesn't get healthy like that, but her health is slowly coming back. And Sylvia, once again, still has a physical body, so she falls in love with Don throughout the book. And she says, well, can you still be with me even though I'm not the spirit, or I'm not the body that I used to be? So it was like a sci-fi love story throughout this whole book, and I really liked it. Orson Scott Card is probably now one of my favorite writers, and it just came out, it was just written so well, and I didn't want to put the book down. Sometimes I had to, but I didn't want to put the book down. It was, in the end, he winds up buying the house that he just fixed. Sylvia and him wind up being in love. The two women in the house wound up leaving and bringing along the one that was upstairs with them. So everybody in all ends happily ever after, I guess you could say. But it was, I don't know what else to say about this book. Like, if you like sci-fi and semi-love stories, I would definitely recommend it because it's written so well. It's straight to the point. It gets right into the action pretty quickly, and it's just a phenomenal read. I read it in probably less than a week, so I'm not even a fast reader, and I read it in less than a week. But I think I'm going to end it there. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and I guess keep on reading.